There is a hidden war happening inside you, not of armies, not of nations, but of states of being. Most people live in sleep, not physical sleep, but psychological sleep, moving through life on automatic, reacting without awareness, believing they are conscious when they are merely conditioned. And one man dedicated his life to waking people up. George Ivanovich Gurdjieff. A mysterious figure who claimed to have traveled across Central Asia, Tibet, Egypt, and India, gathering secret knowledge from ancient brotherhoods, only to return and say, "You are not what you think you are. You are not even who you think you are." His teaching, known as Mar, the Fourth Way, is not religion, not philosophy, not psychology. It is a practical method for self-transformation, a system designed not for monks or hermits but for ordinary people living in the world. He didn't speak of enlightenment as peace, love, or bliss. He spoke of it as self-remembering. A sudden flash of presence so sharp it cuts through illusion like a blade. For Gurdjieff, human beings are not born with a soul. They must create one through conscious suffering, intentional effort, and inner discipline. Without this work, we remain mechanical, puppets of habits, emotions, thoughts, and external influences. We identify with every passing feeling, mistake our personality for essence, and live fragmented lives under the illusion of unity. But there is another possibility: to become a single, coherent I, aware, awake, free. This is not evolution, it is revolution. And it begins with one radical act: stop identifying. The first revelation is this: you have no permanent I. What most people call I want, I feel, I believe, is not a unified self. It is a crowd. Gurdjieff called it the many I's. One moment you say, "I want to meditate." The next, "I don't feel like it." Who is speaking? Not one I, many. The lazy I, the ambitious I, the fearful I, the loving I. These are not parts of a whole. They are separate centers, each with its own desires, memories, and agendas. When you say, "I decided," you're not acknowledging a decision made by a single will. You're reporting the victory of one I over others. This fragmentation is why people fail. They set goals, make promises, feel inspired, but another I takes over later, and the intention collapses. Gurdjieff said that to awaken, you must stop saying I unless you mean the real I, the one that observes, remembers, and chooses consciously. Until then, use we or they. They are tired. We don't want to work. This simple shift creates distance between you and your mechanical parts. It allows observation, and observation is the first step toward freedom. He taught that humans operate from three main centers: the mo, intellectual; the mo, emotional mo; and the mo, moving instinctive. Each has its function, but modern life overdevelops the intellectual at the expense of the others. People think about feelings instead of feeling them. Think about movement instead of doing it. This imbalance keeps them asleep. True development requires harmonizing all three. A balanced person can think clearly, feel deeply, and act decisively, not sequentially, but simultaneously. To test your center, notice how you react to stress. Do you overthink? That's intellectual dominance. Do you spiral emotionally? Emotional dominance. Do you shut down physically? Moving instinctive imbalance. The goal is integration, where all centers work together under the guidance of consciousness. But this doesn't happen naturally. It requires shock, effort, struggle. Gurdjieff famously said, "Man is a machine, but he can become a creator if he works on himself." And the work begins with self-observation. This means watching yourself without judgment, your thoughts, emotions, gestures, reactions, as if you were a scientist studying a rare species. Most people observe only when something goes wrong. Gurdjieff demanded continuous attention. Sit in silence and ask, "What am I thinking, feeling, sensing?" Don't change anything, just see. You'll discover patterns, recurring complaints, hidden fears, compulsive behaviors. These are not accidents. They are programs running in the background. One student noticed he always touched his face when lying. Another realized she smiled when angry. A social mask formed in childhood. These observations are gold. They reveal the machinery beneath the surface. Gurdjieff also emphasized dividing attention. Early in training, holding two things in awareness at once, the outer world and the inner observer. For example, walk down the street and simultaneously feel your feet touching the ground and the sensation of being aware. Or listen to someone speak while also watching your internal reactions. This dual focus weakens identification and strengthens the observing I. At first, it feels impossible. Your attention collapses into one or the other. But with repetition, a new faculty awakens, a kind of inner binocular vision. This is the foundation of higher consciousness. He warned against mistaking imagination for observation. If you say, "I'm observing my anger," but are actually replaying a story about why you're justified in being angry, you're not observing. You're feeding the emotion. Real observation is silent, detached, precise, like a mirror reflecting without comment. Only this kind of seeing can break the spell of identification. The second phase is self-remembering. This is the heart of Gurdjieff's teaching. Not meditation, not prayer, not affirmation, but a specific state of awareness where you remember yourself in the present moment, while simultaneously perceiving the outside world. Most people are either lost in thought or absorbed in sensation. Self-remembering is the third state, presence. He described it as waking up from a dream while still dreaming. You continue walking, talking, working, but now there is an inner witness that says, "I am here, I am aware. I am not just this body, not just these thoughts." This is not easy. The mind resists. It wants to return to identification. So the practice must be repeated thousands of times. Gurdjieff recommended short, intense moments every time you open a door, tie your shoe, drink water. Use it as a trigger to ask, "Where am I? Who is aware?" At first you'll forget, then you'll remember after the fact. Eventually you'll catch yourself in the moment. These flashes accumulate. Like drops filling a cup, they create a new quality of being. He warned against confusing self-remembering with egoic self-importance. It is not, "Look at me, I'm aware." It is silent, humble, effortless attention. A kind of inner standing at attention. When achieved, even briefly, it produces a subtle energy, what he called higher hydrogens, that nourishes the soul. This energy cannot be generated by pleasure, success, or emotion, only by presence. And it is essential for creating the permanent I. Another key practice is dividing attention, as mentioned earlier, but deepened. Not just observing, but remembering that you are observing. There's a difference between "I see the tree" and "I remember that I am seeing the tree." The second contains self-awareness. The first is pure perception. The second is consciousness. This distinction is crucial. Gurdjieff believed that true transformation happens only when you suffer consciously, not from pain, but from seeing your mechanicalness. When you catch yourself lying, reacting, escaping, and instead of judging, simply see it. That moment of clear perception is sacred. It burns away illusion. This is what he meant by intentional suffering. Not masochism, but the willingness to face truth without defense. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. But for Gurdjieff, discomfort is information. Every irritation, boredom, fear, if observed without reaction, becomes fuel for awakening. He often created artificial shocks in his school, assigning students tasks they hated, forcing them to work with people they disliked, interrupting routines. Why? To expose their mechanical reactions. When you're forced to do something unpleasant and you complain, resist, justify, you see exactly how little control you have. That shock, if not rejected, can wake you up. One student was told to wash dishes for 8 hours straight. After 4, he wanted to quit. But he stayed. By hour 6, his mind quieted. By hour 7, a strange peace arose. In that stillness, He saw how much of his identity was built on resistance. That was a real initiation. Suffering with awareness transforms energy. Suffering without awareness wastes it. The third level is conscious labor and intentional suffering. Gurdjieff's school was infamous for its difficulty. Students were given contradictory instructions, forced into uncomfortable situations, made to perform repetitive tasks with precision. Why? To break automatism, to create friction. He knew that comfort produces sleep. Only struggle awakens. Conscious labor means doing any action with full presence, awareness, and purpose, whether sweeping a floor, writing an email, or having a conversation. Most people do things mechanically. Gurdjieff demanded that every act become a meditation. Intentional suffering means voluntarily enduring inner discomfort, not to punish, but to strengthen the will. For example, staying silent when you want to speak, working when you want to rest, speaking truth when you fear rejection. These acts seem small, but they build inner unity. He taught that the soul is not given. It is forged, like steel heated, hammered, cooled. Without heat, suffering. Without pressure, labor. No transformation occurs. This is why spiritual paths often involve hardship. It's not punishment, it's alchemy. One of his most challenging ideas is that nothing valuable comes without sacrifice. You cannot have enlightenment and still live exactly as before. Something must die. Laziness, pride, false identity, dependency on approval. Most people want awakening without cost, but Gurdjieff said, you must pay in advance, with effort, with awareness, with suffering. This is not cruelty. It is honesty. The universe does not reward desire. It rewards readiness, and readiness is built through consistent work. He also introduced the ray of creation, a cosmological model showing humanity's place in the universe. We are not at the top. We are near the bottom, in a world of involution where spirit descends into matter. Our task is to reverse the flow, to rise back toward unity through conscious effort. This gives meaning to struggle. Your pain is not meaningless. It is part of a cosmic journey. You are not just improving yourself. You are participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. The ray shows 7 levels. Absolute, all worlds, all suns, sun, all planets, earth, moon. The moon, according to Gurdjieff, is a predator. It feeds on the negative emotions and wasted energies of sleeping humanity, pulling souls back into mechanical cycles after death. To escape this lunar influence, a person must create a permanent I, a soul strong enough to resist dissolution. This adds urgency to the work. You are not just doing it for personal growth, you are fighting for survival beyond death. Another profound concept is the law of octaves. The idea that all processes in nature and consciousness develop in intervals that require shocks to continue. Like music, where a scale doesn't progress smoothly but needs adjustments at certain points, so too does inner development stall without external or internal intervention. Most people start projects with enthusiasm, but by the 3rd week, momentum fades. That's the interval where a shock is needed. For Gurdjieff, the teacher, the teaching, or a crisis could provide that shock. Without it, the process dies. This explains why so many begin spiritual paths but few complete them. They lack the shocks that sustain transformation. Conscious labor and intentional suffering are those shocks. They keep the octave ascending. The 4th step is the formation of the permanent I. Gurdjieff insisted that humans do not possess a soul at birth. The soul, the permanent I, must be created through inner work. Without it, after death, the personality dissolves and nothing continues. But with sufficient effort, a nucleus forms, a seed of consciousness that survives bodily death and carries experience forward. This is not automatic. It requires sustained presence, integration of centers, and accumulation of higher energies. He compared it to making a crystal. Many elements must come together under pressure and time. The raw materials are moments of self-remembering, shocks of awareness, acts of will. Over years, if not interrupted, they coalesce into something indestructible. This is immortality, not as heaven but as continuity of being. But the path is narrow. Most people abandon it because they expect quick results. Gurdjieff said real work takes 10-15 years of consistent effort before visible change appears. Society conditions us for instant gratification, but awakening is slow. Like a plant growing underground before breaking surface, the inner work happens invisibly. Trust is essential. Faith in the process, loyalty to truth, and above all, patience. He emphasized that no external teacher can do the work for you. Guides can point the way, give exercises, create conditions, but the labor is yours. Even his famous movements, sacred dances designed to harmonize body, emotion, and mind, require personal commitment. When performed mechanically, they are just exercise. When done with presence, they become prayers in motion. The ultimate aim is objective consciousness. A state where perception is no longer distorted by ego, bias, or conditioning. In this state, you see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Few reach it, but glimpses are possible, and each glimpse changes you. Gurdjieff used stories, paradoxes, and absurd tasks to disrupt habitual thinking. One tale tells of a man who spent years searching for a magical stone. When he finally found it, he threw it away, because he had become someone who no longer needed magic. That is the goal, not to gain powers, but to become the kind of being who no longer seeks. The student who arrives at the end of the path doesn't shout victory. They simply are, calm, clear, whole. Now the climax. Imagine driving a car blindfolded. You hear sounds, feel vibrations, guess directions, but you cannot see. Suddenly the blindfold lifts. The road, the trees, the sky, all appear in clarity. You realize you were never alone. You were being driven by habit, fear, unconscious programs, and now for the first time you are behind the wheel. This is self-remembering. This is awakening. Gurdjieff didn't promise paradise. He offered responsibility, the terrifying, liberating truth. You can wake up, if you choose to. Not tomorrow, not when life is easier. Now, in this moment, by remembering yourself, by refusing to identify, by suffering consciously. The door is open, the method is given. The rest is up to you. So here's your invitation. For the next 7 days, choose one ordinary action: brushing your teeth, drinking coffee, opening a door, and turn it into a trigger. Each time you do it, pause and ask, am I here? Who is aware? Don't seek answers, just create the gap. And in that gap, something ancient stirs, something real, something free.